And we are live. Welcome everyone to Coaster Time. I am your host, Carrot Gilgan, and today I will be recapping the Las Vegas and Japan trips I have done since the last stream. I will be ranking all the credits later in the stream. So, talking about obviously all the new coasters I've done. And of course, I will be answering any questions you have about the trips, along with just anything else that comes up, as obviously it's been a decent bit since December, since I last did a stream that was not planned. But I don't think I had a Las Vegas or a Japan trip planned at the, well, definitely not the Japan trip, but not a Vegas trip planned when I did that. So that's kind of what got in the way there. But I will open this up to first Q&A and buy or sell. Already see some people here in the chat. Michael and History and Leisure, hello. I'm sure we'll be getting some others in here as the notifications get out. But any questions you have, any buy or sells, can be related to the places I went to or just things otherwise. Now would be one of the times to ask those questions, and of course, the end of the stream. And that'll be pretty much where we go. So let's get rolling here with our first question. What amusement or theme park did I go to in Japan? So actually, I have the list on the ticker here, but it does go by a little quick. So I'll just mention them real quick. They're also on the thumbnail and the promos, but those are kind of small, honestly. So I went to Hanayashiki, which is the park with Japan's oldest coaster. It's right next to the Sensoji Temple. I also went to Tokyo Dome City, Yomiuri Land, and Tokyo Joypolis. The trip I did to Japan was not a theme park focused trip. Those were just parks that I was able to get in. So those are the four parks I went to. And then as for Las Vegas, because I do see that question came afterwards, I ended up, and again, another trip that was not necessarily, well, I mean, they don't have a ton of parks, but that was not a park focused trip, but I still was able to do Big Apple Coaster and return to Adventure Dome after, like, I don't know, probably like 14, 15 years. First time going as an enthusiast, and was able to get all three of the Vegas credits there. So those are the parks I ended up going to. And then I also went to Knott's Berry Farm the day before I went to Japan because I flew out of LAX. So I was able to revisit Knott's Berry Farm as well. So we'll mention that. I was able to ride Thunder Dolphin. Unfortunately, only once. That was obviously a bit disappointing, just considering that I just being there to only ride it once. But I mean, it's still better than none, which a lot of people have unfortunately experienced. I'll kind of get into that a little bit, but I was able to ride it once. You'll hear my thoughts a little later on it. But I'll just say, as far as the coaster experience goes, I was very much really enjoyed Thunder Dolphin, and you'll kind of see more of that as we get into the list. And actually, I'm sure I'll get questions as to, like, did I ride this coaster? Did I ride that coaster at each individual park? I can say that all the parks I went to, new parks, I will say, I got all the possible credits. I guess one exception being Yomiuri Land. I didn't do the powered coaster, but I don't count powered credits, so that's like the one thing I didn't do. All the other parks, I got all the credits, so that was obviously very fortunate. Um, Ooh, that's a good question here from History and Leisure. I'm gonna pull up RCB just to know the full arsenal of what I'm working with. What defunct Tokyo Dome coaster would I want to ride the most? I know they have the Impulse coaster that once existed. Wow, they have I forgot how many defunct coasters they have. Okay, let's see. They had a Mauer Wild Mouse, probably is Spinning Wild Mouse, probably not that. You have Linear Gale, that's certainly an option. They did have a Togo sit-down coaster, but it looks like it was pretty small, so probably not going to go with that. Two-way coaster, another Togo coaster that was sit-down, okay. Kind of long coaster, though, so that's interesting. They did have an Ultra Twister. That could be a candidate. Ooh, they had an Arrow launched loop as well, shuttle loop, so that's pretty cool. Let's see, Mad Mouse, that's a Wild Mouse, all right, and then a jet coaster. Um, I would probably, but would I want to go with something more unique? Because like impulse coasters exist. I assume there's not. Oh, both the spikes are straight on linear gale. That's kind of interesting. I don't know if that would have been very good, but that is kind of a novelty ride, so I'll probably go with that. Just because there are other Ultra Twisters out there, so it's not like I'm missing anything too big there. And I don't know enough about the other Togos, so I'll go with Linear Gale just because it's kind of whack. So, um, yeah, there was that. But good question. Yeah, the cruise ship coasters are powered coasters. Well, I've never ridden any of those, so I personally choose not to count them as credits. I know that's pretty polarizing, but that's just kind of the way I've looked at it. I did ride Bandit, same kind of thing as I said earlier. Let's see, and you'll hear more about that one as well. Uh, I did go to a Hatsune Miku concert. Not really something that I'm interested in, but I actually I can mention that the trip I took to Japan, it was something that materialized within 2 to 3 weeks of actually going. I had a friend who was already going, and he asked if I wanted to tag along, and I decided to go with him. He was someone. This is someone that we've been talking about going to Japan for years and years, and the opportunity seemed right. And one of the things he had was a Miku concert ticket, but he had two of them already, so I was able to go with him. So yes, I did end up doing that in Tokyo. So let's see. This was my first time in Japan and first trip to Asia. Yes. I do expect I will be back. That is part of the reason why the park list I went to is really weird. You would have thought if you've been watching the channel for a while that like Tokyo Disney Sea has been like one of my top, if not my top bucket list parks. So you might be kind of like, well, why did I not go there? It just was kind of a situation where limited amount of days, and I went to a bunch of different cities, and I guess we ended up actually having 5 days in Tokyo, but technically we were supposed to have four. And at that point, like I want to dedicate multiple days to the Tokyo Disney Resort, and so I was just kind of like, you know what, I'll leave Disney Sea for another time. So, yeah, but still happy I went. Was a lot of fun. Some challenges on the trip. One day I got wiped out just because of exhaustion, so that was not ideal. But outside of that, it was great. And yeah, obviously, big trip for me, just overall. I'll go into the coasters specifically, like I said, during the ranking. But I would say I enjoyed Gekion Live Coaster. I was a bit skeptical going in, as far as would I like it or not, and I ended up being a solid fan of it. Again, I'll go into that more once we get into the rankings, but yeah, that was a coaster that I did end up enjoying. So. Um, yeah, so this is interesting. That Yokohama, like, I could have gone there, right? Surf Coaster Leviathan was down the entire time I was there. It actually opened, I think, what, 2 days after I came back from Japan, so that's why I didn't go over there. That very much could have happened if I might have done that instead of like say Tokyo Joypolis. That been open, and actually the day I did Joypolis, Cosmo World they're closed on like Thursdays this time of year, so that was kind of a double whammy. So I was just kind of like not gonna do that this trip. So. But I do agree, though. I mean, specifically Surf Coaster Leviathan looks really good, and I mean, I have pretty high expectations for that ride at this point. Diving Coaster Vanish, I mean, it's kind of a stupid coaster, but it'd be fun to do just for, I guess, bragging rights and just to have done it, I guess. Just because it's kind of a like thumbnail, like clickbait coaster, but I don't think it looks like a particularly good coaster. So I would mostly be doing that for Surf Coaster, and I guess you get a few extra credits by going to Cosmo World. Um, is kind of the way I see that between those two. I did ride the Shinkansen, which is the high-speed bullet train. I only ended up taking it from um, Kyoto to Tokyo. I did ride a lot of the trains in cities, like local trains, like Limited Express, like all the different rapid, like all the different types. But as for like the Shinkansen, the like bullet trains you think of when you think of like the trains in Japan, I did do one of those. So yes, um, and that was cool to do for sure. And obviously, it's a great option to have when you're traveling over there. It's great just how accessible a lot of places are just via public transit. So, best food I got in Japan. I was actually telling some people this, and um, I'm trying to think like best food. Um, there was a place in Tokyo that had some pretty nice meat skewers. Actually, there's a Japanese barbecue place also in Tokyo that was quite good. I would probably go with that. I honestly can't recall the name of the place. I had some pretty good ramen when I was there as well. So probably one of those three things. I will say that I'm not a big seafood guy. I did have a little bit of sushi just, because I was in Japan, like you gotta have at least a little bit. Um, and I enjoyed a decent amount of the food I had, but I think between the four countries I've been to, like for like basically over 24 hours outside the U.S., as far as like kind of ranking the cuisines, I would have Japan as my least favorite. It's not bad at all. It didn't really have much that stood out to me, but maybe a second trip or another trip, I might have better items and my mind might change. But and in that's in comparison to Mexico, Spain, and Italy, by the way, for reference, as far as what's ahead of it. So um, that might be a hot take, but still pretty good. And again, Japanese barbecue I had one place. There were some meat skewers, different types of meats that were quite good. And then there's some ramen as well that I had that was also quite good. Specifically in Sapporo on Hokkaido, which is the northern island. What did I do besides parks in Japan? So I ended up going to several different cities. It was awesome, but also kind of a learning experience as far as we were lugging around luggage, I think, way too much. Eight different hotels in 12 days. Do not recommend that. Generally, if you're doing like a lot, obviously in some circumstances that's unavoidable, but that was a lot more than I was used to. But so I went to Sapporo, did the snow festival there. We also went to a national park that had like some sulfur vents that was in the mountains. That was pretty cool. And it was actually snowing in both those areas, so that was certainly pretty interesting, pretty crazy for me, just not really having traveled hardly at all in those conditions. Um, Osaka, actually, I went to Nara when we were in Osaka, which is another city that they have like a bunch of deer, and we did a temple over there. Uh, in Osaka, I did do the famous, I think it's called Dotonbori Street. It's the big street. It has all the shops. It's like on the water. That's actually also where you have the donkey with the like the donkey or Don Quixote store that has the Ferris wheel. I did see it. I didn't do it, but it's that street. I did that. Um, And then Kyoto did their main castle there, Nijo Castle, one of their temples, and a few other sites there. And then Tokyo uh, did the like Sensoji Temple, along with the Sky Tree, one of the national gardens I did. Decent bit of shopping as well, or at least going to different shops. So like I did see like two Pokemon centers and one of the Nintendo store near Shibuya Crossing, which we also did, which is the world's busiest street. There's definitely some things I'm omitting, but like I'm kind of like spitballing basically like all the stuff we did. And there's other stuff, but I think those were some of the highlights. So um, yeah, the Miku concert as well, as mentioned earlier. Um, so yeah, a lot of stuff. Um, Two-way ran around the park. Actually, I did look at a picture, and yeah, I'm kind of like, yeah, it kind of looks like it would have occupied the space that existed prior to Thunder Dolphin. I'd have to look at a POV of this because just kind of looking at it, the layout doesn't look that interesting, but who knows? Um, Oh yeah, and then because they had the heroes. I did see the theater. I think you messaged me about it. I did see the theater, but yeah, it was past the closure date. Um, that park is kind of interesting. I don't know how much I'll go into the specific parks outside of like whatever questions are asked. Um, but because I'm mostly going to focus on the coasters. I'll definitely talk about the parks, but I have a end of year ranking. I'm of course, like I said, any questions that come up related to them, I'll definitely answer and go into them. Uh, but yeah, Tokyo Dome City was uh, good and bad with that park. I'll just say that much. Um, I no, all the Vegas credits were new credits. The only credit I had in Las Vegas was the Minor Mike Coaster at Adventure Dome that no longer exists. So those were all new credits as well. Um, no, I didn't. I don't remember seeing the Ranger cutouts. So um, I don't recall seeing that. Let's see. It's 49 right now, so I'll give like maybe another minute for stuff to come in, and then at that point we can go into our next thing, which is going to be the quiz. Of course, if you have any other questions, there also will be the final Q&A as well to ask those, and also I'll uh, discuss any questions or things that come up during the ranking as well. Um, but yeah, I will be moving into the quiz pretty quick. Canyon Blaster, we'll definitely go into that. That was a big surprise. Very much exceeded expectations. So I would definitely say that, yeah, it is a good coaster to say the least. Most intense coaster of both trips. That is a good question. Um, I would probably go. Well, I mean, I actually Vegas. It's Canyon Blaster, like no question. Um, yeah. So that one's pretty easy. As far as Japan goes, um, I think I would have to go Bandit. I think, and actually now thinking about it, I think that one's kind of an easy one too. Um, now kind of looking at it and going through all the options. So um, yeah, I would say between those two, it would be Cannon Blaster and Bandit. So um, yeah, good question. Um, but that will lead us into the quiz. So let's get that up here. Um, Rules, as always, you know what they are. Do not use Google, RCDB, ChatGPT, or any other sites to find answers. Really want to hone in on that specifically. Everything else you know it at this point. So we'll go into the first question. Which of these coasters opened before Dreamland Margate's Scenic Railway? Um, Rest in peace, by the way. So, unfortunately, but that is the first question. You have about now 30 seconds to answer, so guess away. Obviously, one of the pieces of news that has broken since I last did a stream. So, yeah, that is obviously less than ideal, but considering what had previously happened, it's kind of like it's not entirely too surprising, but a coaster of its age closing, you just never want to see that. So, unfortunate to see as the timer is running down. Alrighty, timer has hit. Answer to this first question is going to be B. Jackrabbit Charged is on the board with that first point. And that is it. Opened in 1920, which, as you can see, would make it the oldest of this list. Next, we'll go on to question number 2. Which of these countries has never had a B&M coaster? So, guess away. As far as that goes, guess you'll see. Yeah, Lagoons actually did not open before 1920. I know it had its 100th anniversary a little while ago, so I think that it's reasonable to assume that it is that old, but no, it was 1921. So, and I can pull it up here on RCDB just to make sure I'm not wrong on that. Yeah, it's 1921 was when it was built, or opened, I mean. So, timer has run out on this question, however, and the correct answer here is B, Belgium. Charged got that right, along with History and Leisure, who's now on the board. So, strong start for Charged. And we will go on to the next question. Question number 3. Which of these coasters is the fastest? I hope we do get more pictures of Falcon's Flight, because that's the thing in the background. Finally now have that instead of Formula Rosa to represent the fastest coaster. Now it's gonna represent all of them, fastest, tallest, longest. Also, another thing that opened since the last stream. Gosh, the last stream was a while ago. But yeah, that is the question. Which of these coasters is the fastest? Pretty much same answers across the board. We'll see if that pays off. But timer has run out, and the correct answer here is D, Alpengeist at 67 miles per hour. Surprisingly, over a hyper style coaster in Goliath at Wallaby Holland, along with American Eagle, which is pretty large in its own right, and Valkyria, but Alpengeist is pretty massive, and it's on its own, so makes sense. No one got that right though, so still certainly anyone's game at this point. Question 4. Which of these parks has the most coasters according to RCDB? That is the question. Which of these parks has the most coasters according to RCDB? So, yeah. Alrighty, seeing some answers in here. Not all the same this time around, but pretty close. So we'll see who ended up getting right on that, if anyone did. Pretty quickly here in about 5 seconds, and the timer is about to run out. Question, or answer I should say, is indeed B. Six Flags Darien Lake is the correct answer. So Michael is on the board now with a point, as is Coaster Evan. And Charged has a 3rd point. So there we have it. Next, we'll go on to question number 5. Skyrush seats how many riders per train? So, how many riders per train does Skyrush seat is pretty much the question. So, guess away. You're just glad you got one. There you go. I think I made this one a little more difficult than some of the previous quizzes, but we'll see. Because I know some of the previous ones, like the scores people were getting, were kind of crazy. I'm like, okay, I need to amp the difficulty up a little bit. We were getting like eights and nines, which I'm like, I mean, that's impressive, but might me making it a smidge too easy. All right, timer has run out. Correct answer is A, as most of you got history and leisure now with a second point. Michael also with second point, same as Coaster Evan. So very much still anyone's game. The trains number each seat. There you go. Um, that would definitely be a helpful one to look at. So good logic to use there. Next is question number 6. Which of these coasters lasted the longest? This is obviously not which coaster closed most recently. That would make this question like extremely easy. But in their operating life, which of these coasters lasted the longest from opening year to closing year is basically the question. Seat 32 is your favorite seat. Well, yeah. So I guess if you have ridden Skyrush, automatic advantage there. But on the last question. But as for this one, I think this one's going to be potentially a little more tricky. So, see some answers are rolling in here. A few different ones. All right. And the timer has officially run out. Correct answer here is A. Texas Giant lasted 19 years. That is longer than any of these other coasters. As you can see, yeah, Texas Giant surprisingly lasted a pretty long time. I think more than people would expect, all things considered. So that is the one that lasted the longest, so no one got that right. Which, again, pretty much keeps this an even game. Heck, if someone participated right now, they theoretically would still have a chance to win. So, very much still anyone's game. Question number 7. According to RCDB, which of these manufacturers has produced the most roller coasters? That is the question. And you got about 30 seconds at this point to answer. Also kind of crazy that I up until this year I had never ridden a Togo coaster, and now I have 3 Togo credits. So that is kind of interesting little stat of this year, for sure. But timer is running down, and the correct answer here is C, PTC. So Charged is the only one who got that correct. Now has a 4th point and a 2-point lead with 3 questions left. That's a pretty good spot to be in, I would say. Question number 8. Which of these parks is the newest, as in opened most recently? Your options here being Six Flags Great Adventure, Wallaby Holland, Europa Park, or Carowinds. At this point, you have about 30 seconds to answer that question. All of which, obviously, parks that actually haven't been to any of them, and pretty high bucket list parks. So we'll say that much as far as quality of parks we're dealing with here, though that doesn't really matter for this question. But yeah, so answers are coming in here. You have about 5 seconds left to answer if you haven't already, and timer has run out. Correct answer here is C, Europa Park, and no one got that right again. All right, so at this point, it still is, for anyone who started this game initially, still technically anyone's game because of the rules. But if Charged gets a single one correct, then Charged will win out the quiz. So that's pretty much where we're at this point. Question 9. Which of these is the original Vekoma suspended family coaster? So, yeah, Wallaby Holland started as a farm park, then evolved over time. Yeah, interesting kind of history with that place in general, honestly. Also going through the Six Flags era and everything. So, yeah, that's an interesting one. Let's see, answers are starting to come in here. So, let's see. And you have about 5 seconds left to answer if you haven't already. All right, timer has run out. Correct answer is B. Woodstock's Air Rail at Kings Island opened in 2001. I actually think there may have been another one that opened in 2001 that I didn't include just because I'm like, they were really close together. Um, but yeah, I mean, opened a full year before Kenny's Forest Flyer and Kitty Hawk. So that would be the correct answer there. Um, so yeah, actually, Silver Streak at Canada's Wonderland also opened the same year, but Woodstock's Air Rail opened a little earlier. So um, that is the correct answer. Kitty Hawk rides like a prototype. Well, unfortunately, that is probably very much true. So at this point, I mean, Charged has won, but we still have our last question. Cedar Point never added a coaster from which of these manufacturers? So, of these manufacturers, which of these has never built and opened a coaster at Cedar Point? Is it Alan Herschel, Mock Rides, Chance Rides, or Schwarzkopf? That is the question. Got about 25 seconds to answer. Obviously, Cedar Point, with its large amount of coasters currently and also historically, they've worked with a ton of manufacturers, so pretty difficult to narrow down who they have not worked with. So I do see everyone has gone with the same answer, though, which is fascinating. We'll see if that pays off. Timer has run out. Correct answer here is C. Chance Rides. They have not done anything. Believe it or not, yes, they have had a Mock Rides coaster Broadway trip open and close the same year. It initially opened in 1964. This thing has been all over. It's been to a bunch of different parks. But yeah, that is actually a coaster that Mock Rides built at Cedar Point. As you can see, Alan Herschel had a few, as did Schwarzkopf. So, yeah, pretty difficult quiz just based on the score. So maybe I went a little too far with it. But Charged is still the winner. So congratulations. We'll put that banner up on the screen, as I just realized we still had the Q&A up. So that is my bad there. But Charged is the winner of the quiz. So congratulations. And we will move on to our next segment, which will be, as I pull it up here, the ranking of my 12 new credits. So, new graphics for this as well. So you'll have to let me know what you think of them. This isn't really indicative of them. It's more like the later slides with the coasters. Just a few. How are you curving the quiz with my 2 out of 10? It's a little too much work for me to curve it at this point. To be fair, yeah, as far as the Cedar Point mock, it literally opened and closed the same year. Like, it is the obscure of defunct Cedar Point coasters. So, don't blame you at all for not getting that one. That one is, pretty difficult. And you would have thought that maybe, yeah, they could have gotten like a Chance Toboggan or something very reasonable to assume that maybe they could have. So definitely don't blame you there. But getting back to the rankings, so we're going to do 12 through 6 and then do a guess the coaster and then do 1 through 5. So we're going to split this kind of in half in a way. Just some pre-ranking notes. These are all the coasters I've ridden this year and since the or new credits, I should say, since the last stream we did back in December. You can see the parks represented. Just to the one on the top left for the Japan parks on the bottom there is Hanayashiki, just because it probably is not the easiest to tell there. So those are going to be the parks that are represented. And then shout out to one of the NFL analysis channels I watched, that franchise guy. He was the way the graphics are stylized was very inspired by him. I actually hope to kind of change them a little more as we go further, but yeah, that's going to be um, what you need to know basically as we get into the rankings. I do see a question that has popped up. Yes, I got a new credit at Knott's Berry Farm, so uh, we'll discuss that. Actually, not the too distant future, but we'll move on to number 12. This is the setup we have. This is Wan Wan Coaster Wandit at Yomiuri Land, which comes in at 12. You can see with the graphics here, I have points for what I liked and didn't like for the coaster, overall rank in my rankings, and some stats there on the side. I'm not going to go through every point. It's just there if you want some more stuff that I don't necessarily go into, and also makes it a little easier to follow my points. This is Kitty Coaster. I'll be pretty quick here. First, Hoei Sangyo credit, so that's kind of cool. It's not a particularly forceful, like pretty generic, but smooth and like adequate kids coaster. It does have some extra charm because of like the bubble machine on the lift hill. So that was something that was pretty neat. They also decked it out in lights during the Jewel Illumination event I was at. And the lead car has the park mascot on it, as you can see, so that's kind of cool. Land Dog is the name of that character. So that's some extra charm. Pretty generic kids coaster overall, though, so we'll move on pretty quickly with that. Into our number 11, which is that, kids coaster or new coaster from Knott's Berry Farm, which is going to be Snoopy's Tenderpaw Twister. Again, another kitty coaster. Not going to spend too much time on this, but just got to say, so much better than these Zamperla family gravity coasters. Those are the only kitty coasters I'd ever ridden from Zamperla prior to this. Oh my gosh, it's night and day, and just in terms of like comfortability, I thought it was a lot more comfortable and it was like more exciting. So I bravo to Zamperla for that. And not too forceful, but the first Helix has a smidge of positives. The mini boost is kind of fun. And again, I do like the lead car with Snoopy, and like the Woodstock structure is nice that they have in the middle of the layout. I will say, based on the concept art, the landscaping looked like it was going to be pretty nice. It's kind of barren in actuality, so kind of wish it could have been better landscape, but maybe that will come in time. Pretty nitpicky though, so we'll move on to the top 10, which will start with Lipovitten Rocket Luna. So I think I'm a little lower on this coaster. And also, spoiler warning, I don't think the bullet points have spoilers, but I'll kind of mention when I'm going into stuff that could be spoilery for some of these indoor coasters. And that'll be the case with this ride, but I'll just go into some certain things. So this is a Gerstlauer family suspended coaster. Very like kind of quirky but fun invert with some really kind of zany and fun theming. Quite smooth as well, I will say. So definitely got to highlight that as far as, this being, I'm pretty sure the first Gerstlauer invert that was ever created. And it has some fun zip up points, but it is actually relatively forceless. I was a little surprised by that in my experience. But at this point, I will go into some spoilers with Lipovitten Rocket Luna. If you want to like mute it, or if you're watching this afterwards, like go to the next thing. That's probably best here. But as far as like some spoilers, this ride does have a kind of weird storyline that I didn't entirely understand when I was at the park and in the line and everything, and I kind of looked it up afterwards. So the ride's themed to a drink called Lipovitten, which is a real-life drink made by a real-life company that I think is like a pharmaceutical company. It's like an energy drink. Most of the rides actually in the area that this ride is in are themed to actual products and companies. But pretty much you join this like kind of Power Ranger like superhero character called Lipovitten Man, and you're supposed to travel from Earth to the moon to save this other like Power Ranger type character called Lipovitten Girl, who is under attack from like some tiredness monsters that are meant to represent tiredness and fatigue. And in order to save her, we need to deliver the Lipovitan drink, which will defeat the enemies. So um, that's kind of, I guess, more so the backstory heading into the ride. And obviously, as you go through the ride, you're going through space and you're delivering it. And there's a scene at the end. I didn't know this going in. This ride has a game feature. I put it in the didn't like, but it's probably not fair to put it there. I didn't really understand it until later on. But the trains are actually equipped with microphones that pick up screams and claps. And I guess the goal of the ride is to scream or clap loud enough or at certain points that is given via audio cues in Japanese. So did not get that like at all in terms of understanding that. You'll get a score at the end, and that'll like kind of determine the scene slash outcome on a projected screen. Because I had no idea what I was doing, and the other people on the train didn't participate, we got a 1% and seemingly failed the mission. So that was kind of funny. Um, but obviously that can differ a little bit from ride to ride. But wanted to mention that that was a thing that exists. The My only concern with a feature like that is, um, I don't mind people screaming on coasters, but sometimes you'll get people that are like making your ears bleed, and so encouraging it in that way is potentially something that could go awry. But I didn't really know where to put it, so it's there. Um, as far as some other aspects of the ride, the momentum on the coaster is killed like a lot. You have points where you have some nice zip, but there's basically like two mid-course brake runs or just brake runs that pretty much zap you of your speed once you start picking it up. There's also a second lift hill, which goes into that outdoor section. That also, again, kind of like you feel like you're picking up some speed and it ends. So didn't love that. That was a negative. But as far as the theming goes, I did like it. There's a bottling room that you go to in the first part with bubble projections and water effects and dialogue that I didn't understand, but it was cool. My favorite section, though, was the space section, both as far as the theming and layout. You got lights, asteroid props, and moon projections. It actually, you could compare it to Cosmic Rewind in a way. Cosmic Rewind Light, I guess, as far as the theming goes. And that's also the most fun layout portion because you got a nice helix in there, and that's where you have the most speed, like uninterrupted. So uh, we'll mention that. Again, couldn't really understand much of what was being said since it is entirely in Japanese, and I didn't have the most time to learn it prior to visiting. Probably one of the most interesting aspects of the ride, though, you'll see I have unique swaying motion listed. The trains actually sway back and forth rather than side to side, which is, I've never experienced that on any other suspended coaster. So that is just extremely interesting as far as what this coaster does. I wouldn't say it's like particularly like crazy from a forces standpoint, but it was kind of fun. It did give the ride an extra quirk, and it was a unique motion, so it does make it stand out. So that is certainly something pretty interesting with Lipovit and Rocket Luna. But yeah, I think a lot of people would have figured this would have been higher, like top 7. That's completely fair. I think, again, I'm lower on it. I think main reasons are, I think really the pacing breakups is the biggest thing for me. And I think I was a little disappointed by like how like mostly forceless this ride is. Outside of, like I said, there's 2 of the helixes have some nice positive G's. So um, even though yes, it is a family coaster, just kind of a weird layout overall. But still very enjoyable because of the theming and just kind of overall package. But again, just I'm a little lower on it. And yeah, this did predate Storm the Dragon Legend. So I think there just wasn't a ton of coverage on this ride when it opened. So it's actually feels a little older than it actually is. Next, we'll go into Roller Coaster at Hanayashiki. This is the oldest coaster in Asia and Japan. Also, the first coaster I did on the Japan trip, so that's kind of cool. It's also the original Togo coaster, so for that, like the historical value it has is pretty sick. It also has a nice setting as you traverse the entirety of Hanayashiki, or most of it, which is like really tiny. And you go right up against buildings. You can also see Sensoji like in the distance. So love the setting for it, and the views of the park and the temple are great. Um, and the lift hill is very slow, which also helps with those views. So there is that. Um, I got two rides on this. I preferred my ride towards the back because I thought the drops were better. And they do actually give like actual airtime pops. This thing looks like a jet coaster, so you would think maybe it's forceless, but no, it actually does have some nice airtime pops, both in the front and back. The back's better for the actual drops. The front, there's some transitions where you go upward where you get some abrupt airtime that way. So, um, but again, I preferred it towards the back, but I never got the front or back car. I got like row three and like row six, and out of 8 rows. So, um, there is that. It is a janky coaster, has some awkward and janky transitions, but I found it to be fun. It just kind of added to the overall charm of the ride. I didn't find the ride to be too uncomfortable. It is a pretty short ride, and it is still a family-friendly coaster at the end of the day. But I will say the airtime was better than expected, and the setting, just it traversing the park and the views you get is pretty cool. So, um, nothing like too mind blowing, but it is a pretty nice coaster. And I definitely would say, I mean, I think Sensoji is, one of the things like to do when you're in Tokyo. So I think this is a great coaster to just add on to that. I wouldn't really go out of my way to visit this park and coaster otherwise, but if you're visiting that, 100% like just check this ride out. It's pretty fun. So yeah, it predates Matterhorn, but it didn't have tubular tracks, so I believe it is one of the 10 oldest operating steel coasters out there, which is pretty nuts. So, and obviously the now oldest steel coaster I've ridden, so that's pretty cool too. Um, but yeah, that's a pretty neat one. We'll move on to coaster number 8, another one with some spoilers, which is the one and only Panic Coaster Back Dawn at Tokyo Dome City. This is a Gerstlauer family coaster that is I think for a lot of people pretty mysterious. I didn't really know a whole lot going into this coaster what it was, other than like I should do it. And I'll go over a few things I can get to before the spoilers, but I think overall, like the psychedelic ride, the psychedelic experience, I'll go into that a little more. But this ride does give that very much that very much a just the theming and everything. It is definitely a coaster in Japan, but in a cool way. And then it tracks pretty smoothly for the most part, I will say. Also lacks much forces as well, outside of one moment that actually is that caught me off guard. Um, but I will, and I do wish I rode toward the front though, because like that one moment would have been even better. But it is what it is. And it doesn't really feel fast overall. I mean, it is 18 miles per hour, but it is an indoor coaster, so you'd expect that maybe it'd feel a little quick. Not really. But I will say it's a long overall ride considering the track length, so that is certainly a positive. But going into spoilers now, as far as the ride goes, um, I will kind of go into the theming of this ride. So when the ride begins, you have a projection at the beginning on the sides of the walls of the station you're in, where you have this bomb that's kind of bouncing around. It'll actually go to both sides, and then eventually pauses and blows up, and that initiates the tire launch this ride has, which leads into a dip that has actually a pretty nice airtime pop. I'll get into why I think it would be better towards the front, because when you start like in the back, it's a pretty good airtime pop. So that was a surprise. The launches also have some pep. There's a second launch as well in the middle of the layout, so that's nice. And the first half, you're going forwards, and it's pretty much completely in the dark. I would say between the two halves, but also this is probably because of where I sat. It felt a bit more exciting and out of control compared to the second portion, but again, that's partially I think related to seating and what the second half does, which I will get to. But you'll go through the layout, return to the station that you started in, facing now backwards relative to the layout. And then at that point, you have another projection. The bomb will go off, and then you'll launch backwards, which, like I said, I think the airtime moment in that front row would have been awesome because you would have also gotten that going backwards. So, really wish I could have gotten that, but I only got rows 6 and 8, which is last row, unfortunately. Um, but you launch backwards, and then it becomes basically this light party with music, and it's the lights are like changing different colors and everything, and it's I saw someone describe it as a bit of an acid trip, and yeah, I would kind of agree with it. It's a lot of a lot of stuff going on. Um, but yeah, it was still pretty neat. But because all the lights were on, like it didn't feel as like unpredictable per se. But the ride's not really focused on the forces. I do really like that this ride does have two distinctly different halves. Like as far as like the ride feels very different in the two different halves, despite it being the same layout. So I think that's a pretty creative use of space along with the overall long ride experience, even though the coaster's length is only 767 feet long, although basically double that. So um, I did feel like the music could have been a little louder. I will say when going backwards, it did seem not like super quiet, but it felt like just considering everything, it could have been like a little louder. But minor nitpick there. Overall, very fun ride. Um, that definitely I would say worth doing at Tokyo Dome City. I'm happy I went through the effort of going earlier than I initially planned to in order to get this, so I didn't go when it was closed for maintenance. So that was obviously nice to do, and yeah, it's a fun coaster. So there you go. Next, we have the coaster that was brought up earlier, Ingeki on Live Coaster at Tokyo Joypolis. Um, and yeah, this is a pretty interesting coaster. I did enjoy it. I was skeptical just because of what I had heard. I thought maybe there was a chance I would actually really not like this coaster. But fortunately, I did end up enjoying it. There will be spoilers, but I'll get into, I think, some of the things that are probably non spoilery, although honestly, of all these coasters, I kind of feel like most people know what they're getting into with this, especially if I think the coaster portion. Um, and on that, unfortunately, I will go into the worst aspect of this coaster. And this coaster is the roughest Gerstlauer I've ever ridden. It tracks pretty darn poorly after the inversion. And the problem is that the bulky over-the-shoulder restraints, you're guaranteed to get some head banging because of it, or almost guaranteed anyways. So unfortunately, that is something that you just kind of have to deal with. I would say that is the ride's biggest weakness, is the fact that it is like pretty darn rough following the inversion. So that is obviously less than ideal. But so I will mention that. The coaster section itself is very short, so we'll say that. I will kind of go more into the dark ride thing during spoilers, but um, I'll confirm that in a sec. Launch has solid pep, but not anything too crazy. But it is fun, so I did enjoy the launch going into the inversion. The inversion itself is fantastic. I mean, it provides excellent hang time while rotating. It's a very disorienting element. I very much enjoyed that. That was sick. I cannot wait to do like the Mach Extreme Spinners and Fast and Furious. Just because I mean I've always thought I would enjoy inversions with rotating, and this is definitely a confirmation of that. So that was awesome. And some of the turns do provide some nice positive Gs. Yes, you do have to deal with the track being pretty rough, but if you can get past that, there are some pretty nice positive G's, and I can say I at least appreciated that um, while riding the coaster. Now, no, I wouldn't say this version is in my top 10 favorites. It was good, but it wasn't like that good. I honestly don't have a list for that, but I don't know. It would not be in my top 10, but it is a very good inversion. So I would say it was the best inversion of the trip, but it was also the only inversion of the trip. So um, not really saying a whole lot there. Now going into spoilers, kind of going into the dark ride section. Before the coaster section, you have a long rhythm game that is the majority of the ride. I would have to guess this ride is like ride length wise at least 2/3, if not 3/4 rhythm game and 1/4 or 1/3 roller coaster. If I had to guess, so just for kind of that split, I didn't, time it on the POV, but like that's just kind of what it felt like. Um, but pretty much this rhythm game, it's completely screen slash projection based, and it's if you've played like Guitar Hero, Rhythm Heaven, like Dance Dance Revolution, obviously that one you actually move around, but like you get the idea. Basically, you have a main color button in the middle and two smaller white buttons on the side, and you have to hit it to match the beat. That's pretty much the point of the game. It's easy enough, I think, to be played by anyone. Some songs are stupidly easy, others are not so much. But if you're a hardcore rhythm game player, this is probably a pretty easy game. I will say that as someone who knows some people who are really into that. Somehow I won my vehicle, and I'm trash at rhythm games, so I think that probably more so speaks to the other people that were in the car in front of me just being like insanely bad. And in my experience, it played Sonic the Hedgehog and other Sega songs, so that's what played. I couldn't give specific names, but well, Green Hill Zone played for like a little bit, so like I can name that one. Um, and very unique overall ride experience between the rhythm game portion. I did enjoy it. I thought it was fun. I don't know if like after a bunch of re-rides if I'd be as into it, but for like the one ride I got on it, it was fun. And then obviously you have the coaster section with that very unique inversion, which is pretty sick as well. So did enjoy the coaster overall despite its flaws, but also not something that's gonna rank like crazy high. So it is a very unique coaster. I still it was kind of one of the weirder coasters I've ridden overall, just because like the overall package is extremely strange. Um, but it is pretty cool. So I will say though, if you are going to Tokyo, like of all the places I went to, I guess technically you could say Hanayashiki, but I think Sensoji is like one of the top things to do if you're in Tokyo. Anyway, so that makes doing the coaster a little more accessible. I think between all the places, this is probably the most skippable place as far as going to, as far as the four I went to. But I mean, if you still want to do it, you can. And the good thing is with this ride is that it's in the Odaiba area, which is like kind of the futuristic kind of part of Tokyo. So there's some other cool stuff to see. If you've ever seen like the big unicorn Gundam, it's actually there. It's pretty close to the park. So some stuff to do around there for sure if you end up doing that. I was in and out of this park pretty quick though. Like I think like what, like 40 minutes, something like that. So, and only got the one ride here on Gekion Live, but it was fun. And that'll take us to our number 6, which is going to be Spin Runway at Yomiuri Land. This was extremely close with Gekion Live Coaster. I'll be honest that I could potentially flip these around. Very tight. Also only got one ride on this. There will also be spoilers from this coaster, but this is also a Gerstlauer spinning coaster. More conventional type, although not entirely conventional. That really I enjoyed it because it provided a disorienting ride in the dark. Had some nice spins as well as I was on an off-balance car, basically Zen ride. And there's some nice positive G's at points. Honestly, like the way I would like describe this is like, I mean, I've done laugh track. This is a lot better than that as far as like an indoor spinning coaster. I think there's some nice elements that actually, pull some nice G's. The spinning is a lot better. So I guess that would be kind of a comp I'd make, but like even better and with some additional stuff. Unfortunately, the prime like actual ride time is pretty short as far as the actual coaster, so that is a negative. But um, I will go into spoilers at this point. So actually, the one thing I will say is I did not experience the queue line. I purchased a individual skip the line ticket. I've heard the queue has some really nice theming, but I had to skip it due to time. It had a 60-minute wait. That probably got me like 3 to 4 extra bandit rides, so I don't regret it one bit. But obviously, in the future, I would like to actually visit the queue because I can't speak on it. But once you actually get on the ride, there's some fun theming and a dark ride section at the beginning. The ride is themed to a fashion factory, and so the first part of the ride, you have this dark ride segment with animatronics of Land Dog, the mascot, like basically making clothes and using different machines to make clothes, and there's these other just kind of props and items scattered throughout. It's pretty charming and fun, I would say. And then the ride actually has a unique lift hill, or a cool lift hill as you see here, which is a spiral lift hill. So it was actually the first I'd ever experienced. I forgot that this thing had a spiral lift. I remembered one riding it. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember seeing that. Yeah, this thing had a spiral lift, but I didn't I didn't realize it again until I was literally writing it. So first spiral lift hill, that's pretty cool. It used to have a game feature that I don't think is there anymore. It used to have a Flappy Bird like game on the lift hill on these projected screens. When I was there, the lights were all like kind of these vibrant like colors that are just kind of on screen, so I don't think the game was working. To be fair, I was not familiar that this ride even had a game feature when going in, but just based on looking at POVs, and I did see a POV of the old when it had the game working, I'm pretty sure it doesn't have that feature anymore. But I still thought the lift hill was cool. Regardless, the light projection is neat, and it also has some light bulbs or like kind of colored lights hanging above along with some clothes. So definitely a like cool atmosphere. Also has like the music playing. And then when you get to the actual ride, I mean, the atmosphere is pretty electric and fun. You got disco lights, music, projections. It's still pretty dark at points as well, so you still are at points like kind of not knowing where you're going, especially when you're spinning pretty well. So I liked it for that reason, like out of control feeling rides, and this had some of those moments for sure. So overall, pretty fun coaster. One of the better spinning coasters I've ridden. Not one of my absolute top favorites. I would say Sierra Sidewinder and Joker at Six Flags Mexico are a decent bit above this one, just because I think they provide a lot more as far as the forces or layout. But this is a pretty good one, and not one to miss when you visit Maryland. And I think I'm probably a little higher than other people are on it, so I will say that. That'll wrap up part 1 of the countdown. We'll do 5 through 1 after our next game here, which is going to be Guess the Coaster. You pretty much know the rules at this point, but if you don't already, I'll be getting a coaster on RCDB that's recognizable. You ask yes or no questions in the chat to try to figure out what this coaster is. You have unlimited attempts to try to guess the actual coaster, and the first person to guess it will get a point. Winner will be decided by who guesses the most, and in the situation that we have a tie, the person who guessed the coaster most recently will end up as the winner. So, I have gotten the first coaster. We are going to do 8 rounds here for this one, so 8 rounds today. And I will actually take this down for now. And I do have my first coaster, so guess away in the chat. Let's see. So, and actually I need to reset the banner too, so it's the Guess the Coaster game. There we go. It is not in the US and it is not in Europe. So, still have yet to identify the general location. It is not Bisbee Spiral Airship. One day, you know, whenever that's popping up, if it ever does, like I'm doing that. Let's see. It is not blue really in any shape or form, so not a blue coaster. Let's see. So far, we really don't have much of anything. Not Crystal Beach Cyclone, no. So far, we really don't have anything outside of it's not in the US and not in Europe. Have I ridden it? No, I wish I had, but I have not ridden it, so. It is not green really in any shape or form either. It's not a family coaster, not in Japan. But it is in Asia, so we do have a roller coaster in Asia. Not Moonsault Scramble. Though that thing did look wild. It is over 100 feet tall. It is not defunct. It still exists. It is not wooden. So we have, at this point, a steel coaster over 100 feet tall in Asia, which still could be a lot of options. It is not Black Hole 2000. It is not Wood Coaster at Night Valley. It is not Phaethon. It is not Coaster Through the Clouds. It is not in South Korea. So no, the country has yet to be identified. It is not Dinoconda. It is not in China either. So still have yet to identify a country. Not Soaring with Dragon. It is not in Taiwan. Again, not in China. So it is not Dragon's Run, but it is a coaster in Vietnam, so that probably narrows it down quite a bit. So we do have an Asian coaster over 100 feet tall that's steel in Vietnam. And Charged got it. It is indeed Wrath of Zeus at Vin Wonders. Oh, I can't pronounce. I think Vin Wonders Fuquoc, I think, something like that. Yeah. But that is the coaster. This is the Vekoma Firestorm. Looks like quite the good coaster. But obviously a little bit of a tricky one to get to. Because actually the area it's in isn't, like, it's a major city, but it's not necessarily one of the first ones that come to mind as far as Vietnam goes for me personally, but does look quite good. So Charged is on the board with a point. I also do have my next coaster, so those of you in the chat can guess away. Not good on Vietnam coasters, that's fair. To be fair, there's only like a few I would even ever allow to have on this. But this coaster is in the US, so we have that. So pretty much can rule out all the other regions that were and continents, countries that were thrown out there. This is a US coaster. East of the Mississippi River. Yes, it is. And it is in Ohio, so there you go. Already narrowing out it down quite a bit. And it is over 100 feet tall. So we have a coaster that's over 100 feet tall in Ohio. And it is at Kings Island, yes. So we do have a coaster over 100 feet tall at Kings Island. So, I mean, based on that, you can eliminate Maverick, not Steel Vengeance. It's not Diamondback. It's not Orion, not Banshee, not Diamondback. Oh yeah, also for this, no using RCTV or any of the other, like, Google stuff. to help out. Um, let's see. Not Orion, not Vertigo. I think I already said not Banshee, so none of the ones that have been mentioned up to this point. It is not Vortex, not Beast. Kind of surprised it took that long for that to come up. Not Bat. So still no one has it. Just to go over the clues again, it is over 100 feet tall, and I guess that's it, over 100 feet tall and at Kings Island. Not a ton to go off of, to be honest. Not Mystic Timbers. It's not Son of Beast. But eventually someone will get it. Over 100 feet tall and at Kings Island is so far what we have. Ooh, wow, okay. Very tight. Michael got it first on my end. I would have accepted X-Flight. But it appears on my end, Michael got it first with Firehawk. That is the correct answer, so Michael is on the board. And as we go into round 3 of 8, let me get the next coaster. Let's see. Oh, gosh. I kind of want to do that, but I think it's a little too obscure. Yeah, no, I won't. Let's see. It's taking a little bit. Man, this is too many random wild mice right now. Okay, I'll go for that one. Okay, so I do have the next coaster. I spared you all from Bob at Efteling, the defunct Intamin bobsled, so you're welcome. I guess. It is so, but this coaster that we are actually doing is in the U.S., so we do have another U.S. coaster. You would have gotten that. I figured. I'm just like, that may take a while, and I'm not entirely sure that that would have been gotten. It was borderline, depending on like how many people we had on stream. If it was like a lot, like sometimes we've had like a lot of people. Like if it was like a guest stream or something, then I probably would have rolled with it. But not tonight. Let's see. So far we have U.S. It is, sorry, I forget. I don't think I answered the east of the Mississippi River. It is west of the Mississippi, so west of the Mississippi River in the U.S., so not in Florida. It is over 100 feet tall, so we have a western U.S. coaster that is over 100 feet tall. I mean, that's narrowing it down somewhat, but not really. A lot of options still. But this will help out a little bit. It is indeed in California. So, yeah, and I think I can say I've ridden it because I've ridden every coaster in California that's over 100 feet or taller. So, I guess that also gives away that it's existing. So I guess it is an existing coaster. I guess extra clue because of me saying that, but let's see, not Outlaw Run, not Iron Rattler, not X2, not from an American manufacturer, so that actually will rule out some. Not Viper, not Apocalypse, not a Superman Escape from Krypton. That thing is dead. Not Tatsu. So none of those. So far we have a coaster in California that's over 100 feet tall. It is not a hyper. It's not 200 feet tall plus. So it's under 200 feet tall. So between 100 and 200 foot tall coaster in California that is not built by an American manufacturer. Not from B&M, not from Intamin, not from Ghost Rider. It does have 2 spikes. So yes, it does. It does have 2 spikes. if you want to call them that, I suppose. It is not Scream. It's not Hang Time. It is not Accelerator. It is not Flash. And it is not Montezuma. So, maybe can we consider these spikes? I feel like that might throw people off. Maybe it's not smart to call it a spikes, but it is a shuttle coaster, so I guess I'll say that. The shuttle coaster at Discovery Kingdom got to be a little more specific than that. But it is at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. But Discovery Kingdom, there's a few options as far as it comes with that. So that's not an answer I'm accepting. But it is not Flash. It is not Superman. It is not Batman. You don't remember the name though. I mean, I'll take a little bit more of a description, but like because that describes a few different options, I can't. I'm not accepting that. But History and Leisure got it. It is Boomerang at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. So that is the correct answer. So I will put History and Leisure on the board. I think I'm pretty forgiving as far as like what I'll accept as answers, but in that situation, I just I was not. My least favorite coaster, by the way. So that was an interesting draw there as we head into round 4. Okay. We do have our next coaster, so guess away. It is not in the US. So it is in Europe. Well, I guess kind of debatably, but I think just geography-wise, it's in Europe. Let's see. So not Turkey, not Finland, not 10 inversion coaster at Dream Island, not in Russia, not Estonia. So far we do have a coaster in Europe. Let's see. Anything else coming in here yet? But that's not narrowing it down a whole lot, to be honest. Shred the sewers. Nope. Has it ever been relocated? No, it has not. What's interesting is, this coaster doesn't have a listed manufacturer. But the guy who built it was from the US, so there is that. The credited builder on RCDV, so for whatever that's worth. It is not in Bulgaria. It is orange. This coaster is orange, so that may be a potentially big hint, but we'll see. Might be helpful. But so far we have an orange coaster somewhere in Europe. Not Romania. Not steel, but it is wooden. So we do have a wooden orange coaster in Europe. And as far as... Although, let me just... Hold on. Yeah, it's still that way. So, just making sure everything's up to date. Under 100 feet, yes, Flying Aces. I'll give it, because it is called Nickelodeon Streak, but, like, I know you know what the coaster is. But yes, it is Nickelodeon Streak at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, so I will give that. Um, all right, Charge is now on the board with a second point, and then we'll move on to the next coaster. Ooh boy. All right. Some difficult rounds today, I feel like. And that'll be, I think, the same with our 5th out of 8 rounds. So, this coaster is not in the US. It is not in Europe either. So, not in the US, not in Europe, not in Japan. Airtime Thrills in the chat. How you doing? Good to see you here. Um, Not in China. We're playing some Guess the Coaster right now, by the way. So far we've established this coaster is not in the US, not in Europe, not in Japan or China, so still have yet to determine the country and or region for this coaster. It is not DC Rivals. Let's see. It is not from an American manufacturer either, so let's see. Was putting together your February winners and losers was playing. Yeah, I mean, hey, all good. I very much appreciate the shout out from the last episode, and I look forward to seeing the new one. Although, well, I guess today I'm a little behind. I think there's some stuff that's happened that I haven't gotten to yet, but I think I'm mostly up to date. Besides that, oh yeah, I need to cover the Villains Land rumor. I need to get to that. I haven't gotten to that yet, but um, I don't. Chris has not ridden this coaster. I'm pretty darn sure of it. So it is not in South Korea. So okay, back to the coaster. We still don't have a region or country for it. We really don't have hardly any info on it. Based like there's not the clues haven't really gotten anywhere for it. Let's see. Didn't know I was doing a stream until 6 p.m. I mean, yeah, I put out the stream pretty late, like a lot later than usual. I think I put it out on Thursday, so and then I delayed it by like half an hour because I came back late from a gathering. Oh wait, did I say? Sorry, hold on. It is not by an American manufacturer. I'm pretty sure I said it wasn't. Um, let's see. Southern Hemisphere. I don't believe so. I'm pretty sure no, it's not in the Southern Hemisphere. So, let's see. Not in Taiwan. Okay, have not really gotten anywhere with this one. It is in Asia, so there we go. This is a coaster in Asia, so that's something. It's not in China though. So far we have a coaster in Asia that is not by an American manufacturer. It is in the UAE, so we do have a coaster in the UAE. It is not wooden, so this is a steel coaster in the UAE. Had it been wooden, that would have been a very quick guess. It is not at Six Flags Qiddiya. That would be in Saudi Arabia. Although now it's crazy. Now we could get a Six Flags Qiddiya coaster for Guess the Coaster, I guess now. It is not Formula Rosa. It is not Storm Coaster. It is not Flying Aces. It is not Velociraptor. It is under 300 feet tall, so there is that. Although I'm pretty sure that would probably apply for all the UAE coasters. But let's see, Mission Ferrari. It is not Mission Ferrari. It's not in Abu Dhabi. It is not Manta. It is under 100 miles per hour, so there is that. That could definitely apply. Let's see. And then, yeah, that's what we got up to this point. It is not John Wick. So to recap, we have a steel coaster in the UAE. It's under 300 feet, under 100 miles per hour, and not in Abu Dhabi. That's a pretty big one, actually. Now You See Me High Roller, not quite, no. This one may have been a little too difficult. We will see. I was a little concerned when I picked it. Not the same park as Hollow Madrid, because then I would be picking a kiddie coaster, and I'm not doing that. But not at Real Madrid World. Don't remember too many coasters in UAE. Yeah, I think it may have been a mistake to go through with this one. Not Bandit Bomber, not quite. Other than the ones you said and others said. I mean, at this point, I might just take the model. At this point. Because usually if like someone names like the model in park, I'll usually give it because I'm like, okay, you know what the coaster is, so that's good enough for me. But again, UAE coaster, not in Abu Dhabi. Not from B&M. It is not. As far as I'm aware, this is not themed to an IP. So, and Charged got it. We'll take that. The Gersar Eurofighter at IMG World's Adventure, which is called Predator. That is the correct answer. Same layout as like Iron Shark or not Iron Shark, sorry. Untamed at Canopy Lake Park. So there you have it. That is the correct answer, and Charge now has a 3rd point. I think we'll get an easier coaster this next round. As I can definitely say we did, so I do have the next coaster guess away. Spider-Man Doc Ock's Revenge is also a good call out. Sierra Sidewinder with theming does sound awesome, so and themed Spider-Man, so who doesn't love that? We are at round 6 of 8, by the way, so and Charged is in the lead with 3 points right now. It is a U.S. coaster. The manufacturer, oh man. So RCDB doesn't credit a manufacturer for this coaster. So I guess there's that. A manufacturer who is not American just did it and is technically doing a lot of work on it, so I can say that. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. It is at a Disney park, also not Ghost Rider. I think we already established it's in the U.S. So it is east of the Mississippi and it is in Florida. So we do have a Disney World park basically, or a Disney World coaster. That doesn't have a yep, and Airtime Thrills got it. Big Thunder Mountain Railroad is the correct answer. Pretty sure it has a mini. It's not listed on RCDB, but I think that's kind of goofy. I'd have to look at what I credited it as on my coaster count. But Vekoma recently did a bunch and is, I guess, still technically doing a bunch of work on it. So that is the correct answer. Chris is on board as we head into round 7. So technically, if you've gone on the board, you can still win if you get the next 2 rounds. But Charged is in the lead of 3 points. Obviously, you can still play regardless. But, ooh, okay. We'll roll with this one. I do have my next coaster guess away. Yeah, Charged was close. Yeah, no, I'll definitely take initials, for sure. Again, usually I'm not too picky with the getting it. I don't need you to like type it exactly right and whatever. So, just so long as I can tell that you know what the right is, that's again good enough for me. This is in the U.S. It is. I mean, yeah, that's what we have. It does. Yeah, sometimes it's weird how it pops up differently for for others. So, um, yeah. Actually, wait, hold on. I messed up. No, no, no. Okay. I need to redact. Um, I don't know. It didn't show up on my StreamYard until now, and I just looked at the chat. Charge did get it first. So, that is my bad. Charge, you get a point. Yeah, I just saw. Okay, my bad. So I guess Charge, you're gonna win. Sorry, Chris. I did not see it, but yes, it did come in first on my end. Uh, that's a probably. I hope that's the first time that's happened, but yeah, not gonna cheat Charged out of that, having realized it. So there you go. Both obviously. I mean, right there, neck and neck though. Uh, so yeah. But anyway, sorry. Back to the coaster. Let's see. Where do we leave off? Um, so not in Japan. Sorry. Did I say it was not at a Six Flags park? It is at a Six Flags park. He shows up that you wrote it first. Well, on StreamYard and the chat I have it charged at it first. So yeah, it just unfortunately the streams are kind of a little goofy like that. I can't really help it, so it is unfortunate. But it is at a Six Flags park. I think I maybe said it wasn't, but it is. It is not west of the Mississippi. It is east of the Mississippi. It is not from an American manufacturer. Not in Ohio. Uh, not in Pennsylvania. Um, not in Florida. It is not wooden, so that means it's steel. You think that happened to you earlier? Okay. It's weird because no, I've 100% like the because I'm the one. I have to assume it's probably most accurate for me because like I'm the one hosting the stream, but it's possible there's like a little bit of error there. Um, so I might if it comes in really close on the chat, I might just have to give each a point at that point. So. I might change that in the future, but we'll see. But as for this coaster, so we do have a steel coaster that's on the eastern side of the U.S. That is not built by an American manufacturer. It is not Kings Island. Oh, also at a Six Flags park. Not a B&M, not at Cedar Point, not over 200 feet tall. It is at Kings Dominion. However, it is less than 100 feet tall. So we do have a Kings Dominion coaster that is under 100 feet tall. Yeah, I would assume that mine would be the most accurate. That's kind of what I've gone off of. But I also know that some people are like a smidge ahead and like a smidge behind. So again, I know there's some like goofy stuff. It's kind of, I guess theoretically, if I could do it through some sort of website, it'd probably be a little better. But even then, that also has its own lag. So. And actually for this, that'd be practically impossible. That'd be more like a quiz thing. So King's Dominion coaster, under 100 feet tall, not reptilian, not Apple's Apple, not Anaconda, not reptilian. Mason, hello, welcome to the stream. It is defunct, so that's a big one. So we are talking about a defunct coaster at King's Dominion. It is not Racer 75, not Flight of Fear. Not Volcano the Blast Coaster, not Backlot Stunt Coaster, not Great Pumpkin Coaster, not Grizzly, not Galaxy. Wow, we're going really far down the list. Not Hypersonic XLC, but it is Shockwave at King's Dominion, the Togo stand-up coaster. So Charged is now really running away with it with 5 points as we head into the last round. What a performance. Yeah. I after the coasters I've experienced, I don't know. I think I might have liked Shockwave, not gonna lie. I'm still getting the next coaster right now. Just a lot of random stuff that there's no way I'm gonna do here, so Come on, give me something that's like recognizable. I don't need so too many wacky worms and dragon wagons I'm getting right now. Ooh, okay, that'll work. That'll play. All right. Um, I wish I did Pink Typhoon, but I've only done three Togos. We got Bandit, Big Apple, and Roller Coaster at Hanayashiki. So yeah, rest in peace, Volcano. But I do have next coaster, so guess away. It is in the U.S., so we do have that, and it is from an American manufacturer, so we do have that. So uh, U.S. coaster from an American manufacturer, so have that so far. Yeah, yeah, Roller Coaster at Hanayashiki, the airtime it had was pretty surprising, for sure, as I discussed earlier. Um, though I kind of heard going in that it did have some sneaky airtime, so it wasn't something that I was like I was not expecting any airtime at all, but I was still surprised. Not an RMC coaster, not at a Six Flags park. So far we have sorry U.S. coaster at a or U.S. coaster from an American manufacturer. It is east of the Mississippi. It is not wooden, so that makes it steel. It is on the East Coast, so East Coast steel coaster. Um, that's not at a Six Flags park. Not Steel Vengeance, not Air Force One, not Premier, not from Premier Rides. Not a launch coaster, not in Pennsylvania. Already confirmed that it is a steel coaster. It is not from E&F Miler. It is not on the Jersey Shore. It's not Flight of Fear at Kings Dominion, not Flight of Fear at Kings Island, not in Ohio. It's East Coast, so we're talking like a state that's actually touching the water. Um, just to clarify there. Not Gale Force. It is at a chain park. Uh, Florida? No. Well, you ask if it's north or south of Virginia. It's neither. It is in Virginia. So, um, we have that. So we do have a coaster in Virginia that is steel, not at a Six Flags park, but at a chain park. So that might narrow down the park here pretty quick. Well, we've already narrowed that down, so I don't think I need to answer the other geographic stuff. It's not Beast. It is a looping coaster. It does have inversions, so we do have a coaster with inversions. It is not Verbolten. It is not Loch Ness Monster, but it is at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. That is indeed the park. Not Anaconda, not Griffin. Um, let's see. Not Alpengeist either. Man, charged again to close it out. Drachenfire is the correct answer. And so, with 6 out of 8 points, charged, the clear winner of Guess the Coaster tonight. With one of the best performances I can honestly recall. So, we've had a few dominating performances at one point, but this is definitely up there. So, congratulations to Charged, and we will move on to the second part of the new credits countdown. My top 5 coasters, asterisks on the 6th win. Fair enough. That's true. Yeah. Just with this being the first stream in a while and delay and everything. Obviously, we've had streams with more people playing the games, so that obviously also would be a factor, but it's still impressive nonetheless. But yeah, we'll move on to the second part of the countdown. These are going to be the top 5 credits I rode on my trip, and we'll get started here pretty quick. So my number 5, the once maligned Big Apple coaster, comes in here at 5. And this is a ride that I think my opinion here, maybe if it was like, 10 years ago would have been kind of crazy, but I think at this point more and more people are becoming like enjoying Big Apple coaster more. And I would say that it was actually a pretty fun coaster. Now I will go through all the bad first. Let's get the bad out of the way. And this is the worst hyper or hyper style coaster I've ridden. There's some really bad potholes. The worst offenders are really the valleys after the two inversions. Um, and there's a few of the valleys following the larger drops and hills that are also pretty that don't track great, but it's really the valleys after the inversions that are like really really bad. The trains are still tight, still likely very much improved now with the premier trains over the old trains, but like again, just with premier trains, just getting in and out of them, and just how tight it is, it's still definitely there. Overall pacing is just all over the place, completely inconsistent, and just rather poor for a ride of its size. And the layout has a bunch of dud elements that don't do much or really anything. Kind of just goofy at points. And then I don't really weigh this too much in my coaster rankings, but you got to talk about it when we're, discussing it, especially if you're like considering writing this. The $25 cost it is right now is just insanely steep. Plus, they also have non-complimentary lockers. They're only like $1 per hour, but if you have to put stuff in there, that's just kind of an extra little thing. Um, the reason it costs so much is because it's in Las Vegas. I think that's stuff's expensive in Vegas, so they can do that. So and there were a solid amount of people there actually when I went. So granted, it was right after New Year's, so not like crazy crazy busy, but there was took a few cycles to get on it. So that's really I think the bad of the coaster, but there is some good here. Now with the trains like being changed, the ride is a lot more tolerable. There is a good sense of speed at points as well in the first half, but I think one of the best points of this coaster is going to be the awesome views and setting. I got my one ride here at night, so just seeing Las Vegas at night, and also being nearby like the structure of the hotel with all like the different landmarks is pretty cool. So I very much enjoyed that. There were some solid airtime moments throughout. Some obviously were hit or miss, but there were actually a decent bit that gave some solid air, I felt like. The dive loop maybe was my favorite part of the ride. Now, you kind of have to have a tolerance for this. And as far as the pull out, like at the bottom, is like ridiculously potholy. But if you can get past that, this thing is insane. So I rode towards the back, and you already start with insane hang time to start, but the actual like element is super tight. So when you get pulled down by basically, the front of the train, you just get absolutely yanked down, and it's super intense. Again, that also comes with the insane pothole, but in a way, it kind of makes the element feel even more insane and violent. So I did like how unhinged it felt. That was really crazy. So I did enjoy that. Some people really don't like that element though, and I can kind of see it, but I was able to enjoy it. There's also a downward helix later on in the ride that's quite intense, and I enjoyed that as well. So I'd say those are probably two of my favorite elements on the ride. And it's, like I said, a pretty fun coaster just because you're going fast at points. You got a few solid elements. You're in Las Vegas. It is dumb, but a dumb big coaster. But again, I ultimately think it's pretty fun, despite its flaws. And I think at this point, it doesn't deserve some of the remnants of basically kind of reputation that some still have it calling as one of the worst coasters ever. Right? I think it's unwarranted at this point. Although if you factor costs, I can kind of get that. But I mean, mountain coasters are pretty darn expensive too. So, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, including your money. Exactly. But there you go. That's Big Apple Coaster. So first Togo I ever rode, and I did not expect that I would be riding more pretty quickly afterwards. But here we are. Next, we're going to move on to our next coaster, which is going to be El Loco at Adventure Dome, which this one, pretty simple. I would really describe this coaster as having like three borderline elite elements with just some other kind of weird zaniness and an overall like still very respectable compact layout. The first drop is excellent, incredibly strong, absolutely utes Yitsu, so love that. Both dive loops have sensational hang time, so I mean those were spectacular in the hang time department, for sure. And then outside of that, you have some other quirky elements. You have that outer bank turn where you're kind of dangling sideways for a bit. That's a little freaky, so that's kind of cool. And then the entrance into the second dive loop also kind of has like a weird way it like turns, so that's kind of adds some fun character. Um, but unfortunately, going into some of the negatives, this and I've heard mixed things. I kind of was expecting this wouldn't be an issue, but it was. I mean, it wasn't too big of an issue. Uh, the transitions, at least when I rode, they were pretty jarring into the inversions. They didn't really track very well. Not a huge issue, but it is definitely something that's there. Actually, one of the things that I noticed, and this may be like an only like in my experience and definitely my brother's experience, he complained about it, and I found it to be an issue on one of my rides. Is there's a pointer divot in the lap bar that I found to be a little uncomfortable. If you're in like a bad seating position or just in an unfortunate spot, it can kind of um, like basically push into your groin area. So if you're a guy, that's not great. So which is weird because I never heard of that from anybody else, but that was something in my experience. So I will mention that. That honestly probably was a bigger thing that took away more so than the transitions, honestly. Still overall, I very much enjoyed this coaster. It's in my top 100. I mean, those top three elements are truly exceptional. And I like the kind of general weirdness of the ride. Yes, Michael, you're thinking of Steel Hog, which is similar. But I believe that one has over the shoulder restraints. This one at least just has a lap bar, so also very freeing in that sense. So also some positive for the only lap bar restraint. Um, but yeah, so that's gonna be El Loco, which again I enjoyed quite a bit, but not as much as the other coaster in the park, Canyon Blaster. So this ride, and honestly, I have it here in my overall ranking at 77. When I do my overall like review at the end of the year, I think there's a shot I might actually raise Canyon Blaster a little higher. I was super impressed with this ride. I would say it's like for as kind of I would say basic as the elements are, pretty much a nearly perfectly executed arrow looper. Even again with some of those elements being kind of basic on paper. Surprisingly, I found this ride to be quite smooth. Like tracked very well considering it being an arrow looper. I definitely think it being indoors has helped out a lot, but was surprising in that department. The pacing of this ride is, as I think, the biggest strength. The pacing just overall is really, really good. Pretty much not a single dull moment following the first drop. Great sensation of speed as well, I felt like, especially towards the front. I rode in the front row, and my other rides I got in the second to last row just because it had a little more leg room. Uh, but it was really good in that department. Some of my favorite elements, the first drop near the back, that had really nice airtime. The back-to-back vertical loops, super intense. I mean, that and very much gray out worthy. You have the slanted hill, that was surprising. That actually gives like a borderline ejector pop, which is crazy. You would not expect it like going in. And then there's a downward spiral that's quite intense and picks up speed while you're going around and inside the canyon. You also have a little bit of an into dark portion there too. That was also really sick. I think that's kind of where the sensation of speed is showcased at its best. So pretty much like from start to finish, great coaster. Really, the only negative I have is that the trains are cramped, but it didn't really affect me too much. Um, Overall, like I genuinely super impressed. My second favorite, like traditional, like arrow looper, even above Viper at Magic Mountain. It's underneath Tennessee Tornado, but Tennessee Tornado is just kind of on a different level. But really love this ride. The future of Adventure Dome and Circus Circus in general is definitely in flux. I would say with the owner floating out like potentially selling it. And honestly, this casino was pretty dead when I went, which was kind of unfortunate to see. Yeah, Dragon Mountain probably would have been up there, but I fortunately never rode it and will never ride it. So I think, but I also probably would love that, and that definitely could have been above this for sure. Um, but yeah, so Canyon Blaster, very surprising coaster. Uh, and again, one that I very much enjoyed. So there we go. As we head into our top two, which is gonna start with Thunder Dolphin at Tokyo Dome City, which is kind of interesting. This might be a hot take as far as I've seen different opinions as far as which coaster is preferred between my top two. Might be a little bit of a hot take that I have Thunder Dolphin over or under the next coaster we have here. Unfortunately, I only ever got one ride on this, and it was in the third the back row, but it was at night, and it was with a full train, so great conditions at least. And the setting of this coaster is one of the best of any ride out there. I think that is what elevates it above anything else. Is that setting? I mean, you are riding around Tokyo, also around this building as well, but like you're literally in the middle of Tokyo, like whizzing around. And that is just like a crazy feeling, especially at night. So nothing like that setting. The sensation of speed as well is quite good at certain points. Obviously, it doesn't hold its pacing particularly well, but there are certain points where you do have that sensation of speed, and it is awesome. Great night ride, I can definitely say as well, with all the lights and everything, really in the city. So there is that. Um, and some of my favorite elements, I would say, on the ride, the first drop delivers a lot of sustained floater airtime, so that was pretty satisfying. I liked the diagonal drop that goes through the hole in the building. That's a crazy head chopper and gives a little bit of air as you get kind of yanked down. So that was pretty sick. There's a speed hill as well following the turnaround that goes through the Ferris wheel that has the best pop of airtime on the ride. I describe it as like kind of like Flowjector airtime, so it's like probably it is the strongest airtime moment on the ride. And then there's also another diagonal drop off the trick track section that has some nice snap as well, and a little bit of air. So I'd say those are my favorite highlight elements. But again, you're mostly writing it for the setting and the overall experience, I would say. Because unfortunately, and on the parts that I don't like, there are multiple dead elements. I mean, really the two on top of the building sequences are where they're at. There's a hill that doesn't really do a whole lot, and then you have the trick track section. At least a good thing with those segments is it does give you some time to take in the views, but yeah, I mean, it's still, for a coaster as large as it is and it being an intimate hyper, you would like to see those at least do a little something, and they really don't do anything. So that definitely is a knock. The wonky pacing as well. Again, those segments on the building, the coaster just kind of travels slowly, especially the trick track section. Um, so there is that. And then I have difficulty to ride. So I actually went to Tokyo Dome City on two separate days. I went one day and got my night ride on it, and was hoping to go back on a separate day to get some more rides, ideally during the day. And on the last day before I was going to fly out of Tokyo, that was going to be the day I was going to ride it. Unfortunately, the ride was closed due to wind when there was 11-mile-per-hour winds, which was kind of goofy. Apparently, it did open later in the day, like at 4 p.m. or something like that, according to some ride stuff. But had this coaster been, had this ride, like had it been the weekend, this coaster would have definitely opened. This ride has operated in like 20+ mile per hour winds when it's busy. The problem was it was a weekday, so it wasn't. And I guess they just decided not to run it. That was pretty frustrating. That doesn't really factor into the ranking, but it's something to note just because that wasn't something that's just specific to me. A lot of other people have missed out on Thunder Dolphin because of like the weird maintenance schedule, and also because of just the low wind tolerances and just random downtime enclosures. So I do have to give it as a legitimate knock because that is something that has been reported. So outside of my own experience, because if it was just kind of a random thing, I would just be like, oh well, just bad luck. But it's unfortunately not quite that way. Still overall, I mean, that setting is going to elevate it quite highly. I have this coaster actually in my overall rankings a little bit behind Millennium Force. And when I rode Millennium Force, it was kind of apparently just not running great, but you still had to appreciate it for that sensation of speed. It does have that neat setting. That night ride was excellent. It's a little bit behind it because I think it's kind of reminiscent in that there are also certain elements on that don't quite hit. Now that I think overall has a better like uh, layout and elements, but I think it was kind of comparable. So having it around there, I think is fair. That being said, had I ridden this coaster more, I think there's a solid chance it probably could have fallen, but maybe a front row ride also would have elevated it. So kind of hard to say. Difficult coaster to rank, having only had the one ride, but um, yeah, it is unfortunately a little bit of a headache to ride, which is unfortunate. But then we'll get into our number one coaster, which I rode 8 times, and that is Bandit at Yo Maryland, the big winner of the trip, and definitely a surprise coaster for me. Now, Airtime Thrills, not sure if he's still here in the chat, but obviously he has a very high opinion of Bandit, uh, far more so than even myself, just relative to where I rank it in comparison to him. But I can definitely vouch for it being a crazy awesome ride. I think the probably best thing it does is the terrain usage and pacing is absolutely like incredible. The way it's able to hold its speed pretty much the entire ride, using the terrain to make sure that like it doesn't really like slow down and like it's still engaging and exciting for well, like basically like the OG hypercoaster is extremely impressive. So I will say that the sensation of speed, excellent. And then you have a great setting as well with it being in the woods and also at night. It's an awesome night ride. I will say that the night ride did elevate it like a decent bit for me compared to the initial day rides I got. Um, and yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, you can definitely say Bandit uses terrain better than any coaster you've ever seen aside from Voyage. I mean, legitimately, it is up there as far as like one of the absolute best uses of terrain, and I very much appreciated that. Um, but on top of that, this coaster does have. Um, I'll go through everything before the transitions, as you can see there. But I think there's a lot of quality airtime moments. Heck, even the first drop actually gives some airtime if you're towards the back. If you're towards the front, not really. Um, so there is that. The ride feels pretty long despite its constant rapid pace as well. So I did enjoy that. And just, I mean, the historical importance of this coaster as well is pretty sick. Just because it's inspired Magnum XL 200 and arguably was like the first big steel coaster, like hyper style coaster to not really focus on inversions, or one of the first, anyways. So you have that also going for it. Um, and then we got the two WTF transitions, which the first one is the entrance into the Helix. Oh yeah, I got a shot at the Helix as well. The Helix in its own right, super intense, like very gray out inducing. So that's definitely a highlight in its own right. But the entrance into the Helix gives an insane lateral jolt. You got to watch out for the restraints. I'll get to that in a second. But if you can properly brace for it, that is an awesome moment just because of how unhinged it is. That is the most unhinged moment on the ride, in my opinion. You also have this upward turnaround that also gives an insane lateral jolt. Also need the brace for that one. It's not quite as insane as the Helix, but especially on the first ride, it was like very unexpected because like you're just traveling up and you're expecting to just kind of level out and then drop, but no, you get that crazy lateral jolt. So that was pretty sick. Um, and then Along with that, again, you got several airtime pops um, as well. But those were very surprising elements for me that I enjoyed. Not everyone's gonna enjoy those. Uh, Very unrefined overall hypercoaster, but I actually really dig it for that reason. Now the things I didn't like, I went over the first drop, so that's kind of already done. But the restraints are not good for Bandit. Over the shoulder restraints for a coaster that just doesn't have inversions, and like these restraints are pretty bulky. They can cause head banging or neck chopping, especially during those two transitions. I actually didn't think they were too problematic outside of those two moments, but you definitely have to brace. Because I got 8 rides on this, I figured out how to. So, um, just kind of like kind of holding tight on the restraint during those moments. Um, and having my shoulders up seemed to help a little bit. So there is that. I'd say overall it actually like tracked pretty well. It's just kind of those two moments were specifically uh crazy, but like I said, I think it added a lot to the ride, added some character, and like they were unhinged moments. So I enjoyed it, but it definitely is like the like a Togo thing. Um, and I can't say the Togos I rode, all of them have had whack transitions. So I guess based on what I've written, I would say yes. But I mean, yeah, Bandit, very impressed by it. Obviously, the ranking is pretty high, I think, relative to what you'll see otherwise. Again, Chris is has it like kind of on a different tier, but I think still otherwise, it's pretty darn high. And overall, I was extremely impressed by this coaster. This is one that I think is not to be missed if you go to your Land. And if you somehow find yourself with the opportunity to score a night ride, I think it's mostly during winter. I would absolutely say it's worth it because that makes the ride feel even more unhinged. The sensation of speed is heightened. You do have tracer lights, so it's like not like completely dark, but it's still cool and it's still pretty dark in some portions, but it's not like, like Beast where you don't know where you're going. And at points, you can also see the park, which is beautifully illuminated by the lights. Also, just going to that park during Jewel Illumination is awesome. So, can't recommend that enough. Um, so, um, and definitely, this is a park that I will absolutely be returning to in the future. This was my favorite park uh, of the bunch that I went to in Japan pretty easily. I mean, makes sense. Largest ride lineup and largest park overall, but and has the number one coaster. But yeah, was also particularly impressed by your Land as well. So that'll wrap it up for the ranking, and that'll bring us to. Actually, I'll just we don't need that. We can just do this. And that'll bring us to our final Q&A / buy or sell. So any questions you have, obviously I have a ticker with the parks, but if you have any questions or thoughts on like any of the news that's also happened or anything along with obviously the trip stuff, now would be the time to ask as we are here in the final Q&A stretch. So that's going to pretty much bring us to the end of the stream afterwards. Yeah, that is pretty much where we're at this point. Let's see. I see comment. Few of them, Al. Thank you for doing the Cedar Point video with you back in the day. I have no idea why I agreed to do it, but hey, I mean, collaborations are always a cool thing to be a part of. So, and I know it was years ago at that point, but I hadn't, I think, done as much of that. So, doesn't always work out in recent times. But I mean, of course, with me having like guests and everything, I know how difficult it can be sometimes to get those collaborations happen. Also, sometimes surprisingly easy. It just kind of depends on time, circumstance, and everything like that. So. Whenever that opportunity comes up, I like to try to make something happen. So appreciate the thanks there. How soon am I going back to Japan? I can't give an answer on that, but I definitely will be going back. The awesome thing actually with this trip outside of, actually doing the the coasters was the friend I went with. He knows Japanese. He has family there, so he was able to kind of serve as a guide for me for most of the trip. But I actually did do 3 days of Tokyo on my own, so I know how to navigate the train systems. I was able to get by enough using Google Translate and the few phrases I knew. And some other strategic things to like order food and just kind of get by. So I think that gave me an opportunity to get a lot more comfortable with traveling uh, in the country like on my own, and now being able to potentially lead that with my family and potentially with others as I uh, could return there. So I can't give an answer to that because I have simply no idea. I mean, this trip for reference, I mentioned it earlier. It came about in like less than 3 weeks. So um, it is, you know, um, the like we'll see what happens pretty much. What do you do? What do I think is going to happen with the Enchanted Parks? I do expect that we are going to see that go through. For those who are not caught up with that, I believe it was in January. We had a lot of filings that were uh, basically people kind of connected dots to a company that is currently called, I think, Innovative Attractions Management (IAM). That basically they filed a bunch of park names that were of existing Six Flags parks under an Enchanted Parks label. And it was connected them because also there was a park amidst that bunch they currently own. The parks that were in that dry parks I'll just go over were Worlds of Fun, Michigan's Adventure, um, Great Escape, um, Six Flags St. Louis. Am I missing another one? I might be. Um, I know it was at least those four. I think there may have been another one. It's been a little bit. Yeah, Six Flags St. Louis, Great Adventure, or not Great Adventure, sorry, Great Escape, um, Worlds of Fun, and Michigan's Adventure. I think that was it. I'd like to say, pretty sure it was those four. Um, yeah, yes, it was Oceans of Fun that was mentioned, but I fully expect that like Worlds of Fun would be a part of that. I know Great Escape also was like the Great Escape Lodge. So I know there was like a few things that were a little like kind of finicky there, but I fully expect that like the actual dry parks themselves would also be involved because I just with how Worlds of Fun and Oceans of Fun is set up, I would be kind of surprised if it's like, oh, we're just doing the water park. That doesn't really make a ton of sense to me. But yeah, it was those four. I think that's something that's in the works. It just makes a lot of sense. Six Flags has wanted to unload non-core parks, but I the thing with that is I'm kind of been like I don't know who's buying like those properties for like real estate. Um, and so this seems to be a good solution where the parks can still survive. They will now be a focal point of a new chain that, to be fair, we have no idea what that's going to end up looking like. I mean, they aren't really that big right now. Generally seem to have heard positive things as far as like they've been brought in to kind of help out these like water parks, like either turn around or like just kind of help them get going. And apparently they've been very good in that department. So I would like to think if this new little chain goes through, that this could be a great thing for the parks that are being acquired. I don't know what they necessarily like ride investment levels would look like, but I'd like to think that perhaps maybe in other ways the experience could be improved at those specific parks. I think that would potentially go a long way. Um, but I think that this could be a very good thing, and I expect to see it that it will happen. I know it's been pretty quiet for like the last month, but I think these things take time, and we will see these parks get sold off. I expect at some point that this goes through this year. Um, Maybe I'm wrong, maybe it doesn't, but I think this is something that's going to happen. And I'm actually pretty intrigued with it if it does. I think this could be a very good thing for both parties involved. Well, all parties involved, I guess, just of all the moving pieces. So I would be at least at the start of it and just what the idea of it, I'd be very pro uh, like a new Enchanted Parks chain. Also, would just be nice in general with to have like a new chain with all the consolidation that's been going on. I would definitely welcome it. So would appreciate it in that way as well. Let's see. Buy or sell a new amusement park gets put on the plot, and I'm gonna sell that. I fully expect they will make put that to use as something else. Whether that's like maybe like a shopping thing or houses. I would be pretty surprised if we get a full scale amusement park. Maybe if it somehow ends up becoming a shopping complex, perhaps we get like a Ferris wheel or something that's a part of it. But a full fledged park, gonna sell that like pretty easy. So, um, yeah, IAM has the same Cedar Fair style logo, which is interesting. Do you think we'll ever see comfort colors again? Oh, have not updated this. Tempesto, or at least on Instagram, Tempesto did just remove the comfort collars. So that was something I was told was gonna happen. So good to see that it is true. West Coast Racers still has them. Actually, Big Apple Coaster still has it. I'm I guess if we're saying, do I expect to ever see it on another Premier Coaster again, or like just be added? I mean, it hasn't been added in so long at this point. I guess Icebreaker they had it in 22, but they got rid of it. So, um, but I feel like someone might do it. It's difficult to answer that because I could very much see it going either way. Um, but I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna buy it. I think at some point somebody does. Um, so uh, we will see. That could very much be an either way thing though. For sure. Let's see. Buy or sell Travis Kelsey owning stock in Six Flags is never mentioned again. That would be kind of hilarious. Like just like oh yeah, all this and that, and like they sell Worlds of Fun. That is a pretty funny like kind of outcome that could come out of this. Like well, like WTF? Like what was like what are we doing? But I mean I don't know that we'll see. I mean he was part of like this company that bought up a decent chunk of the shares. I forget what the amount was. So he could still have an impact. You haven't really heard anything though since. I think we'll still hear from that. Um, I guess company. I guess you could call it that he's a part of. I think they will still be involved, and you'll hear about stuff on their end. So I will kind of sell it. But it is kind of funny that that was kind of something people made a big deal about, and we haven't really heard about it since. But it's been a pretty short time frame, so um, kind of interesting though, just to think about. Um, what are some good regional parks to visit this year? Uh, well, um, I don't even know what exactly is a good answer to that. Because I'm trying to. I think you're like Texas-ish area, if I recall correctly. Um, I mean, hey, well, over. I mean, I'm sure you go to over Texas, but I mean, hey, that's a good park this year. With Tormenta, I'd say that's pretty exciting. Um, let's see. Outside of that, I mean, the problem is I haven't really looked at that much. Um, what would be some good ones to go to this year? That's a good question. I think chat might be able to help out with that more than me because that's I mean what like I guess like I'm not sure what I'd go off of. Like, am I going off of what's getting new rides? Like what seems to be in good shape right now? it's kind of a difficult question to answer. I could give you like the ones that I really like. Like I mean, I like although Holiday World's hard to get out to, but I mean uh that's one obviously. Kings Island has a new dark ride opening up. Although I mean it is a regional park, but that's like on the biggest end of things. Um, so yeah, it is kind of broad. Silver Dollar City. That is an excellent answer because Thunderation, right? So that would be a very good one to hit. That very good call out. Um, Fortunately, I'm not gonna get there in time. Yeah, Silver Dollar City is excellent call out for that. Um, Maybe Frontier City if although I think you might have that as well, but I mean just because I don't know what its future in the chain looks like, so at least if you have the pass, Six Flags season pass, that might be a good one to hit up. I guess on that note, Worlds of Fun as well and Six Flags St. Louis also kind of for a similar reason. If you have the Six Flags pass, probably a good year to hit those. Those those would be some options. King's Dominion mentioned here as well. A year after Rapterra, that would be a good one. Um, so that's that's definitely a good shout out. There's a Ferris wheel like 20 minutes away from the Six Flags America site. You never know. Redundancy exists. Um, do I think Six Flags adding a ride every year to each of its parks was a good thing? I mean, there's a lot to take in as far as the strategy and everything there. I would say probably not. I know that like people enjoyed it for like the announcements and whatnot, but I think if it was a little more spread out, like kind of better quality editions, that probably would have been a better route to go. Maybe more so focusing on like more infrastructure stuff too, because I think there's probably a lot of drawbacks, like just mostly focusing on ride editions and that being like kind of your main selling point to get people back to the parks is you're like neglecting other stuff, which I think was happening throughout that kind of era in Six Flags. So I would say probably not. I know again it was like exciting from like us waking up early on those like days and like watching the announcements, but in actuality I think it was probably not the best thing. It did give us some awesome rides, but probably in hindsight, you probably handle that a little differently. So, there you go. Um, let's see. So this question, I understand it as far as like I know when we're talking about probably this applies a lot to Six Flags Qiddiya, but you can definitely apply it to the UAE parks, especially the ones that are government funded, such as the Abu Dhabi parks. That there's a moral, ethical, decision I suppose to be made with visiting these parks. Just with obviously human rights just not being in a good spot in both these countries. Obviously, kind of different levels when you're talking about the UAE and Saudi Arabia. But I do expect that I will go at some point. Are those places that I'm like, rushing to go to? Not necessarily. Just I think there's some other places internationally that I would have a little bit of priority on. And actually, Six Flags Qiddiya specifically, I would like for them to have the hotel like infrastructure in place. Like, like you can actually stay on site because it seems like kind of a hassle to get all the way out there then get back each day. I mean, we'll see what the hotel prices are also, so that also might be prohibitive. But I'd at least like to have the option to stay on site. So I think there's like some infrastructure stuff that I'd like to see get done before I go. UAE I think would be a lot more like, yeah, I'd like to go. So yeah, I did not want to bring it up, but there obviously recent events. Now, granted, I wasn't planning on going super soon. We'll see how long the obviously, and I know Iran, like, today and tonight. Obviously, you have that now going on. Um, but yeah, I didn't. I was like, if it gets brought up, I'll mention it. But obviously, yes. At this point, if I was planning to go soon, I would likely now have reservations in doing that. Um, so, uh, yeah, obviously, we'll kind of have to wait and see how dragged out this is gonna be. Um, as far as I guess pretty much probably this war is gonna be, but obviously, yes, that would affect going to those places. So, of course, that is in consideration. Granted, I was not planning on going to either of these two countries particularly soon, so it probably doesn't affect my decisions that much. But like, well, I'm not going like right now. Let's just say that much. That very much is a fair thing to bring up. Unfortunately, but that's kind of where we're at. Um, and in this crazy world nowadays. Um, but let's see. Buy or sell Six Flags gives Frontier City a new park bench by 2030. I'm gonna sell simply because I think they're gonna get out of Frontier City pretty quick. So yeah. Let's see. Do I have any plans to come to the East Coast in 2026? I don't have any concrete like plans right now actually for 26 really outside of like, I mean, I'll definitely hit up like Fast and Furious here and hit up a few of like the California parks. Um there's a few things I want to do. I think ideally I think I would like to get to Florida this year because I wanted to do that last year and that didn't work. So that would probably be the realistic thing there. There may be other opportunities. Nothing concrete though. So, uh, I guess technically like a yes and a no, just because like I want to do Florida this year, but we'll see if it happens. It'll happen the next 2 years. I'm pretty darn sure though. So, regardless, and we'll see if anything else materializes. I mean, when I last did the stream, I did not have plans to visit Vegas, and I sure as heck did not have any plans to visit Japan. So things can change pretty quick. So that could very much be in play. But as of right now, outside of Florida, and even Florida is a question mark, but I don't have anything concrete there. Frontier City and Wonderland in Amarillo. Actually, yeah, that one's pretty hard to get to, so that'd be a pretty cool one. Hopefully, the new group running the place can do some good work there. Fiesta Texas, kinda. If you want to hold out for the new coaster next year, I don't blame you for like Fiesta Texas. And then SeaWorld San Antonio, they got Barracuda Strike opening this year, so that's nice. Um, if I don't get on Thunderation, don't worry. One of the worst coasters you have ever ridden. Wow, that is. Um, well, I mean, that is a take. Um, I think I'd probably like it, but I mean, granted, I like I said, I probably won't know. Silver Dollar City is a very difficult park to get to from California, and especially from like a city with like not, we do have a major airport, but like it's not LAX or SFO, so it that's a very difficult park for me to get to. Oh yeah, especially also, I mean, under 25 still, so like a rental car situation. Granted, I have a thing that can waive it now, but it's still kind of I haven't gone through that process yet, so that would be definitely something to get through first. But yeah, it's just kind of unfortunately that is one of the parts that is particularly difficult for myself to get to. So at some point would love to go, but I do not expect that this year's the year. So Beware of missiles. I forgot if I mentioned that earlier, but yeah, sad, sad reality. Um, let's see. Theme Park Worldwide also said Charlotte was waiting for the hotel. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it just I think the hearing like just that process, I was like, I mean, granted, again, not a place I was rushing to, but especially I'm like, okay, I don't really want to deal with that because I don't really want to drive in Riyadh. It looked crazy from I saw Collywood Studios his vlog on it. That looked crazy. I'm like I'm good. I don't really want to do that. And it just seems like it's a lot of extra effort. So the hotel might be expensive, but man, I would just love to have the option. I think that'd make things a lot easier, especially if the park's weird hours. So I think that 100%, I kind of want to wait and see that out. Um, and we'll kind of see also how the park is by then because they definitely have some, I think, kind of growing pains to go through as far as like operations and stuff. But new park in a region that doesn't really have a lot or really country in Saudi Arabia. So hopefully they can improve in that aspect as well. Um, let's see. Um, think you think you would like it. You're a huge fan of Adventure Express. I'm pretty lukewarm on Adventure Express, but definitely good to see. Like that's a mine train that gets a lot of love, so I can't hate. Um, Buy or sell King. I'm selling Kings Island, getting an RMC in the next 5 years. I would be very surprised if they did. I will say that much. I'm not. Yeah, if they do, awesome. Would love to see it. Would love to be proven wrong. I would be very surprised if they do that because I don't really think there's a ton of options for them to go with. Because they're not going to RMC one of their wooden coasters. I don't really see them getting a ground up RMC coaster. I don't really see them getting an RMC Raptor, but like I guess a larger park version is like the most realistic route they could go, and even then, that's like I would be shocked. I would like to see. I think something from Mach would be sick. I think that's kind of the dream. So, um, yeah, a Copperhead Strike style coaster would literally be perfect. That is like exactly what they need. Um, Granted, I haven't ridden Copperhead Strike, but just from like what I can tell, um, I know the launches aren't that intense, but also Copperhead Strike does look like it has some pretty good like ejector airtime at points. That part could desperately use a ride with ejector airtime. So, and it would give them that like multi-launch coaster beyond like backlat stunt coasters. So that'd be nice. Um, yeah, a Striker Extreme Spinner would also be awesome. I would love to see that. Son of Beast, the Beast return. Oh man, that would be quite the name. I'll give about another. I'll go off the. Yeah, I'll give another 5 minutes. Here. Anything that comes in before 11:05 EST, I'll answer, and then I'll pretty much wrap up the stream there. But good stream tonight. Love the questions. Appreciate obviously um, like the fun like during the games and and obviously watching for those watching live now and also afterwards. So very much appreciate that. Um, let's see. I'd rather see a premiere than a Copperhead style ride, but I think Mach is more likely because it would. Yeah. Um, Interesting. I mean, Premiere. I mean, Alpine Fury. I mean that they cooked with that. So, I would be intrigued in a if they got a Premiere like that. But I any of those would be I think awesome options. So between a Premiere, a Mock, I mean, I'd be down for really any sort of thrilling launch coaster would be great. Have I ever flown or driven by a theme park without going? Yes, many times. So let me try to come up with like the list I got. We got Desperado, at Buffalo Bills. Drove by that when I was really young. To be fair, not an enthusiast, so if you don't want to count that, that's fair. But technically, it's happened. Um, let's see. Wild Waves theme park in Washington. I actually kind of want to get out to it this year. When the Washington State Fair is running. I think that's about as good of an excuse, honestly, to go to Washington State Fair more than anything. It's like, well, I can also hit up this park that's dying. So that would be kind of cool if that's able to work out. If not, then well, rest in peace. I blew my only ever chance of going, which I'm not exactly too sad about that. But would still be cool to do. So hopefully that's able to work out. In Japan, actually, very recently, I passed by a ton of stuff. I passed by Hirakata Park on a train. Um, I saw the Ferris wheel of Yokohama Cosmo World. I actually saw multiple Ferris wheels of like I think a lot of like smaller like parks that I ended up not going to. But like we're talking like really tiny places for the most part. Um, I did see Tokyo Disney Sea from and Disneyland for that matter from the Tokyo Skytree, like just barely, but I could make out Tower of Terror and the volcano. So um I have that. um Ooh, let's see. If there are any other ones, I think those are the major ones. There's probably like some little kitty credits, like something I'm like forgetting. Oh, Pigeon Forge, I forgot. I passed by like a ton of mountain coasters. And I think NASCAR, like the NASCAR park and like all that. So all of those. It's a pretty long list at that point. If we would throw all those in, that's like a lot. Um, so outside of that, oh, I haven't been to Stratosphere. Granted, that's not a coaster, but or it doesn't have a coaster. But I've seen that multiple times. I've not been. Um, I think that's got to be most of the ones. Um, yeah, I think that's got to be majority of the list. I'm trying to think of like other ones that I'm drawing a blank because I didn't see anything in Spain. Oh wait, oh TB Dabo, I forgot. I saw that. Okay, TB Dabo is the other one in Spain. So there's that. Didn't see anything in the Netherlands, not in Vatican City. Did not pass by a park in Italy. Japan, I think I mentioned all the parks that I did see but didn't go to. And then US, I think I covered all the ones. So, um, yeah, I think those are it. So, um, yeah, it is crazy. I saw the Tokyo Disney parks from so far of a distance. Weirdly enough, not the first time. Not the first time I've been in a city and seen the Disney parks from a distance and not been. I didn't include Disney World on the list because I didn't go the first time I went to Orlando, but I have been since, so like I have been now at this point. So not really gonna count that one. Don't think that that is a that makes sense for throwing on here, but um, so that is kind of interesting. Um, let's see, where do I think the next Extreme Spinner from Mach is coming in the US? Well, I guess I can't say the Great Adventure one because that is about clear as day that that's what we're getting. It's kind of hard because, like, I mean, who realistically is gonna get one is like the honest question. Is because like there's not really much precedent to go by like what chains have done. Like I would love to see one at Dollywood. I don't really think they're gonna go that route. That's like, and that's because like the Silver Dollar City connection. Um, but I don't think they're gonna do that. Though I would absolutely love it if they did. Um, and outside of that, like, are we betting on like Six Flags building another tower coaster somewhere else? I will say I do like the tower coaster concept, if it can work in the plot of land of Superman Escape from Krypton at Magic Mountain, I think that's something that could make a lot of sense as a replacement if they want to do that. So I will throw that out there just because like even trying to find fits, it's like okay, I could see that. I think there may be some other parts that got a tower coaster in the survey. Um, I'd have to look back over what those were, but I think some of those could definitely be in play. Um, so probably we're looking at a Six Flags park if I had to guess, but as to what it would be, I'd have no idea. Um, so Kings Island did okay. That could be a spot. Um, yeah, that actually could work. Cedar Point, I know Cedar Point got it. There's no way they add that. I would be like floored if they actually did. Carowinds, yeah, that could work. I could see Carowinds. I think over Georgia, kind of on the same logic. Honestly, could be like another one, and they are buying out that park, so they could do it. I think if we're talking legacy Six Flags, I could see over Georgia and Magic Mountain as options, but yeah. All right, I'll go through the remaining questions. I see Chris is heading out. Appreciate you checking out the stream. Best of luck with the uh, winners and losers of February, and I will see you next time. And then we will get to the questions that still remain. Pepsi Python at Coney Island, tough. That's a tough one. Um, yeah, just because we're talking, uh, yeah, Cincinnati, Coney Island, rest in peace. So, um, that one's unfortunate. um, let's see. What else? Buy or sell. Great Adventure gets a Doppelmayr Skyride. I'm a sell that. School as it would be, I don't see them investing in a Skyride. So, that would love to be proven wrong though, because I know a lot of people would like that. What do I think will be Cedar Point's next coaster? That is a good question. Man, I need to be better at remembering like the survey options. Someone suggested like a GCI or Big Bear Mountain type ride for Cedar Point. Let me look at the survey. I pull it up on Reddit. Okay, here we go. Okay, what did they have? They had a suspended throw glider. Would be interesting. Oh yeah, they did have the multi-launch family coaster. Okay, they have that family-friendly coaster. You know, because you're kind of also predicting like potentially a ride they remove. I really do like the idea of, and I think I've suggested it. I think it's been suggested throughout before, and like I wasn't the first, but I think like I would like to get rid of Cedar Creek Mine Ride. I just think it's kind of like not. It's just like a kind of trash coaster. I get that it's old, but like it's just not very good. And I'd love for them to put potentially a launch coaster, like maybe a small Vekoma launch there. I think that would be sick. I think a family launch of some sort would be great for Cedar Point. So I'm gonna go with that. I think that would be a really nice addition for them. Now I know that they supposedly have something planned for like the Snake River Falls plot too. So don't know what exactly that could be. But he Colin pitched the Skyride to the CEO. Hey, there you go. That's pretty cool. Um, so yeah, that is pretty neat. Let's see. Anything else? Yeah, so, I mean, as far as the extreme spinners, I think Six Flags. If the Tower Coaster does well, then yeah, I could see like some other parks getting it. I just wonder how large the Great Adventure one is. And if maybe they would go like a little smaller for like the later ones, or maybe like same height, whatever. So, um, yeah, because I think the concept it could work at even at like a smaller scale. So if the ride delivers enough, so suspended thrill glider at Cedar Point would be kind of sick because I know people have wanted a flying coaster forever. It's not really a flying coaster, but like it's something. So yeah, I think it's not gonna reach King to Ka heights, but I think like it'll be like I think 300 ish, maybe in the 400 ish foot height range. So it's at 400 feet on the survey. Yeah, there is that. So it'll probably be around there. So I expect that future ones are built though. Except maybe in Magic Mountain's case, I could see them going like pretty darn tall. But like outside of that, I think it would just kind of go a little smaller. I would personally prefer if they actually went like a full layout, but if the tower coaster is sick, then like I can't complain if it goes elsewhere. So, um, but we could see. I think we kind of have an idea of like I don't think it'll be much higher than 400 feet if it even reaches that mark. I don't think it's gonna reach King Ka heights. I would be pretty surprised if it did. Um, as far as the height, I don't expect it will. There's not really a reason for it at this point because like the tallest coaster record is broken. Like I guess you could theoretically take the record from like Cedar Point with Top Thrill 2. I don't think it. I At this point I don't think it matters that much though. I mean I really don't. Um, it would be a cool thing to have just to be like yeah tallest coaster in North America, but I don't know that it matters that much that you're like actually gonna do it. So, um, and the Cedar Point even like advertised Top Thrill 2 that much as far as being like the tallest coaster in North America at this point. So I don't even know if they do that. So yeah. But anyways, I think that's gonna wrap it up for the stream. Obviously, I guess I have a few other things just as far as like kind of general like updates. Obviously, this was not planned as far as like having to wait till February to do a stream. I was hoping to get one out actually like late January. Then that was like when the Japan trip came about. I'm just kind of like, okay, it's pretty tight now having to plan for that, so I'll just delay. Um, Ideally, we'll see what happens. I'm hoping the next stream will be the I mentioned it in the post, the new concept that I'm wanting to try out. I know I said March in that. There's a chance it could be pushed to April. We'll see. Um, so that may be when the next stream is. And I think I'll also mention as far as like the short form content, that's like kind of on the back burner for now. I really want to kind of focus on honing in on the job search, like post the trip I just did. So, but like I still expect to be doing streams here and there, obviously throughout the year. So if something changes there, I will update then. But that's kind of where things have been at. But ideally, the next stream will be that new concept that I've teased. Um, it'll be I'm very excited for it. I think it's something that could potentially, if it goes well, be replicated in future streams. And ideally, that'll be the next stream. If it doesn't work out, I might do a stream earlier than that. That's kind of just like a just games like Q&A and such, and maybe like one like little nice segment, like special segment, kind of like this ranking. If that doesn't work out, but yeah, I'm hoping that we will do that like first of its kind, like kind of for the coaster time streams, like new concept for a stream. I think that'd be sick. So look forward to that whenever that happens, and that'll pretty much wrap it up. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time here on Coaster Hour. See you all.